I think dance.
Yeah, okay. So dance, music. Shin, what's an example of art?
What cold art? What's like that?
Painting?
No,
Is that what
I
you're saying?
mean, I forgot the word, but from sea it's made like using
Carving. Oh, wood carving. Right.
Wood carving.
Wood carving. Okay, that's good.
Fashion too, right?
Yeah, fashion is tech. Fashion, a lot of people think of it as art, right? So there's a lot of different versions of art, right? There's fashion, there's carving, there's there's pottery, right? There's painting, sketching. So many different types of art, right? And you see a lot of these, even acting, right? Acting is technically an art, right? A lot of people say they're artists. You're a theater artist, right? So what this first introductory paragraph is really telling us is that generally speaking, we think of movies as works of art, right? What is a work of art, right? A work of art is really something an artist creates, right? A song, right? A song is a work of art. A carving is a work of art. You see that dish over there? That dish is a work of art, right? It's something that was created by an artist, right? So in the same way, filmmakers are often seen as artists, right? So what this is once again saying to us is that when you really think about a lot of artistic areas like music, right? Like sounds, like dialogue, acting, movies contain all of these things, which is why people generally look at movies as if it is a work of art. A movie can also be a work of art, right? But if you look at a movie from a different perspective, right? Remember we talked about the idea of perspectives. If you're standing and looking at this telephone in the middle of the table from here, this is one perspective. And if I move over to the other side of the room and look at this, this is another perspective, right? So if you take a different point of view, right, you start to see that movies are actually a pretty great example of product development, right? They are products as well as there are art forms, right? And then of course it's saying that there's these four principal areas, right, of development. First of all, do you recognize this movie? Have you guys seen this movie, Pulp Fiction? This is a very famous movie from 1994. That, as you can see, it has a lot of famous people: John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Samuel L. Jackson, Harvey Keitel. It has a lot of really, really famous and interesting people. So this is actually Quentin Tarantino's probably his most famous film. And as you can see, it won the 1994 Cannes Film Festival's Best Picture Award. So if you guys ever get a chance, I encourage you to watch it. This is a movie that's definitely art. It's a very interesting film. So let's continue. Let's see, Shin, could you read the first paragraph in development, please?
Okay. Development. In this stage, a producer who is in charge of managing the entire filmmaking process finds a story, which may come from a book, play, another film, true story, original idea. And after identifying a scene or underlying message, the user works with writers to prepare a synopsis. Next, they produce a step outline, which breaks the story down into one paragraph. A paragraph sequence that concentrate on dramatic structure. Then they prepare a treatment, 25 to 30 page description to the story. It's smooth and clear. This usually has little dialogue and stage direction, but often contains drawings that help visualize key points.
Okay, good. Okay, so the producer is really a critical person in the filmmaking process. He is sort of the glue that holds all the different areas together, right? He has to manage the entire process. And oftentimes there's not just one producer, right? There's a producer, there's an executive producer. So oftentimes, like if someone is very experienced, they'll be brought in to be like the executive producer on a film, right? So this group of people, they really control a lot of what is called the logistics of the film, right? Logistics are really what we're going to call fundamentals. And what I mean by that is decisions like, what script are we going to use? Where are we going to film this movie? Who should be in the movie? You know, all the really fundamental factors, right, that are behind a film are really handled by the producer. So it's a very, very important role. They're the ones who really make everything happen. And this is breaking down the way that, you know how, so what was the first type of product development that we talked about? It's an idea or a concept, right? So an idea, when you think about a film, right, an idea can come from many different sources, right? It can be a very famous book, right, that is being turned into, somebody wants to make it into a movie, right? So the idea is, okay, I really like this book. I think we can make a really, really great movie out of it. It's the same way that, you know, you might be walking to work one day, and you might just notice something and think, you know what, there's an opportunity, right? It really comes down to when you're creating a product, you really want to create something that people are going to buy, right? That's something that's useful to people, or something that people want to experience, right? So someone could read a story in the newspaper, someone could read a novel, and think that this is going to be a book, or this is a source of material that we can turn into a movie, right? And then the second part of it, really, is the planning, right? That's the second stage of product development. So look at what they're doing over here, right? After identifying a theme or underlying message, right? So, you know, in a book, for instance, like a book about, what's a famous book? Let's say, well, yeah, Harry Potter, right? Harry Potter, what are some of the themes? The English word theme, right, is something like, let's say there's 3 friends, right? And one friend kills another one of the friends, right? What is that? That is an act of betrayal, right? So in that sense, betrayal, the concept of a theme is really sort of examples of themes, right? You know, love is a theme, right? In movies, love is a theme, right? A guy sees a girl, he sees her every day, maybe they're on the same bus going to work, and he falls in love with her, right? What's another example of theme? Betrayal, right? Someone kills their best friend, right? One of my favorite books is Shakespeare's famous play, Macbeth. Have you guys read Macbeth? Have any of you guys read? Macbeth is about, it's set in Scotland, hundreds of years ago. And it's about a very brave Scottish general called Macbeth, right? Who kills his king because he wants to become the king of Scotland. And the reason why he kills the king is because 3 witches visit him. 3 witches, like sort of supernatural ghost-like people. They visit him, and they give him a prediction that we think you will be the king of Scotland. And that gets into his head, and the king comes to stay at his castle. And in the night, when the king is sleeping, he goes and he kills the king, right? So that's the theme of betrayal. The king who trusted his best general was killed by that same general, right? So these are examples of themes. Themes are ideas, they're concepts, right? There's love, there's betrayal, there's, even violence can be a theme, right? Even like violence, right? What was that famous movie, Battle Royale? Right, Battle Royale, the movie that came out, like, what was it, 10 years ago or something? Battle Royale, the movie is about, like, a game of death, right? It's like everyone, the last person alive wins the game. And it's like 50 people, and then, it's a really, so that even violence is a theme, right? You read a book like that, you think there's so many great ideas of violence over here. We can turn this into a movie, and very artistically, we can show these scenes of violence where people are being killed, right? So when they identify a theme, something that they think the audience is going to like, something that they think that, people are either film critics or everyone outside is going to like, right? When you think of like Transformers, the movies, right? It's really cool, right? There's a lot of special effects and explosions and these giant robots fighting each other, right? So people want to see things like that, because that's like, it's not like you're going to walk down the street in Broadway and you're going to see something like that, right? That's something that's really unique, something that you can only recreate in a film, right? Something that's make-believe, right? So they identify this theme or this underlying message, right? And then the producer works with the writers to prepare a synopsis. Then they produce a step outline, which really breaks it down into these scenes. So the idea is they're preparing for the 3rd stage. And what was the 3rd stage in product development? Funding, right? Good. So, you know, if you go, if the four of us, right, had this idea for a coat like that, right, and if we wanted to, if we needed money, right, to buy a factory, right, or to invest in the idea, right, we'd have to go to an investor, right, or a group, or a bank, or somebody, right, someone with money to give to us, right, to fund our idea. What do you think they're going to say? Okay, what's your plan, right? What's your plan for all of this? Show me the research, right? Show me a reason why I should invest in you. So a lot of times, you know, when you're creating and when you have an idea, right, for a product, you have to create maybe a presentation, right? You have to show them, like, you know, this is my idea, this is what it's going to look like. You have to hand them something and be like, I want you to just read this. Or I will walk you through this, right? I'll explain all of this to you, right? So the idea is, why would you would take this, you know, a synopsis, right? If you guys have ever seen a synopsis. Synopsis basically means a summary, right? And do you guys understand the word summary? You guys understand the word summary? A synopsis is a summary. Why do you think you have to create a summary? Why do you think they have to create a synopsis?
Track, engage. I mean, to like.
Yeah, that too.
Engage, right?
But mostly because, you know, you can't just say.
What's all about?
You can't go to an investor and say, I read this book, and I think it's really, really great, and I want you to give me $100 million to create a movie out of it, right? He doesn't have time to read the whole book. You've already read the book. So create a summary, a synopsis that says, in this book, it's this incredible story about a spy, right, who goes undercover in Cambodia. And you can just see the scenes, you can see the jungles. We're going to have fight sequences in the jungles. We have, you know, we have some great actors who we think could play these roles. You know, you create this summary, right? Because remember we talked about the whole concept of time is money. Just like an advertisement, right? You have a very short amount of time to create an impression, right, on the person who you are giving your idea to, right? You're telling them about your idea. So in that very short amount of time, in 5 minutes, they have to have an idea. They can just read the synopsis, which is maybe a one-page document, right, with a couple of pictures, and be like, you know what? I can see this. You know what? This is actually a really cool idea. Here's $20 million. Go do with it whatever you want, right? So you really, because these people don't have the time, right, to, you know, read everything, because they get offers all the time. People are always coming to them looking for money, right? Take the richest people in the world, Warren Buffett, right? People are always trying to get in touch with them that, you know, I have this great idea, would you fund my business? So when you are given an opportunity to face someone who is an investor, you need to have something that's really, really easy for them to read. And in 2 minutes, they can just read this one page and be like, you know what? I know what you're trying to do with this film, and I think it's a great idea, or I think it's a bad idea. You know, either way, you want them to get the message really, really quickly, right? So then what they're doing is, you know, they're talking about how you concentrate on the dramatic structure, right? The drama, right? You know, dramatic comes from the word dramatic comes from the word drama, right? Basically breaking down what are the scenes going to look like, the scenes in the movie, right? Are we going to take, and usually, I guess, yeah, they are talking about a screenplay over here, but basically what are the scenes going to look like? What is this movie going to be looking like? What locations are we going to use to film it, right? So those are some of the things, but really what you're doing is you're breaking all of this down, right? And you're creating a shorter version of your idea, something that's easy to read and easy to understand. Pedro, could you read the next paragraph, please?
Next, the screenwriter writes a screenplay over a period of several months. The screenwriter may rewrite it several times to improve the dramatization.
Dramatization, yeah.
Clarity, structure, characters, dialogue, and overall style. However, producers often skip the previous steps and development submitted screenplays which investors, studios, and other interested